Hello, Exiles. In this video, I'll show you how to an easy way to beat Act 2 with the Chronomancer class. If you haven't ascended yet because it's too challenging, I recommend grinding to level 37 before attempting it. At level 37, the process becomes much more manageable. Now, for beating the last boss, last act boss for Act 2, um, you want to start out with weapon recommendations. So, the weapon I use dropped by one of the first field bosses in Act 1. If you need a strong weapon, focus on increasing your magic find to at least 50% and farm that boss. It's the ice boss in the first area outside of town. The weapon is Life Sprig Attuned Wand. This weapon will be strong enough to handle the trial boss and most of the bosses in Act 2, even the last boss. Now, as far as skills and gear, for my build, I focused on lightning skills, which were sufficient to beat the final boss of Act 2. Here's how to prepare. You want to look at your rings and charms. Get gamble rings. Whenever you go up to the NPC that lets you get a random item, just pick the rings from there, from that vendor. It provides the random rings. Keep rolling until you get 2 lightning resistance rings. Equip the lightning resistance charm to further boost your resistances as well. Aim for at least 60% lightning resistance, though 75 is ideal. This will help you survive the boss's lightning attacks, and he has a lot of lightning based attacks. Now, I had around 66, or I'm sorry, around 661 hit points. Get more if you can. Of course, always more is better when you're talking hit points. As far as the flasks, upgrade your flasks, especially the life flask, to the best tier available. You should be able to get one around 650 hit points because survival is key to the fight and to farming the area. Now, the farming area that we use, we're going to grind levels in the area before the final boss act. It's the seat of the oh, I can't remember the name of it now, but it's on this train here, and it's this area right before you get into the boss. And let's see here. Oh, the Dreadnought Vanguard, and the seat of the Dreadnought are the areas that you want to grind. Grind levels in those areas. That area provides quick experience and drops lots of level 9 gems, tons of mob packs, and it's pretty heavy, pretty dense mob packs at that. Use these to upgrade your skills and fill up any gaps in your build. The next thing you want to do is look at the skill combination I used for the fight. Lightning Bolt, of course, was the bread and butter. Resistance debuff to lower the boss's resistances, of course. Orb of Storms with the support gem to allow 2 orbs at once. For my ascendancy, I used Temporal Rift to recover from damage and replenish mana during the fight. If you struggle with mana, use Mana Drain, as Temporal Rift also restores some mana too, so both of those together help quite a bit. Practice using the skill in the area before the boss farm, like right here where I've got the 2 Orb of Storms going here. Practice in areas like this where you've got a good mob pack. And you always want to keep Orb of Storms active, 1 at least, if not 2. And it applies a 32% or negative 32% resistance debuff to the boss. And that boosts the damage of lightning skills. I use conductivity. If your main damage is cold, the skill gem for that is hypothermia. If you're fire, the skill gem for that is flammability. When taking heavy damage, use Temporal Rift to reset your health. Pair this with your flasks for additional safety. Focus on positioning and avoid unnecessary damage by kiting or using mobility skills. Optional farming tips, things you can think about as far as other gear is because farming gear is essential for this boss. The witch boss outside of Act 1 drops a great wand, and that is the Life Sprig wand that I mentioned. And an upgraded version can be found from the Titan boss in Act 2. Experiment with other damage types. If lightning feels slow, for example, chaos or cold damage might speed up your kill time. For the boss fight itself, the best thing to do, as I mentioned, is just kite around the boss, keep your damage up, keep the Orb of Storms up, And don't forget to use that temporal rift when you need to replenish life or mana. Like use it here, see how my hit points jump back up there and save me a hit point pot. And the boss keeps its damage whenever you do this, so it's a pretty big advantage to take, or a pretty good idea to take advantage of that. Sorry, kind of went sideways with my conversation there a little bit, didn't I? But you want to basically just kite around it. The lightning pillars there are fairly easy to avoid. Now there is a point where they do a little walking step where they kind of flip back and forth between each other, so it's a little more difficult. And here it's important when you see the sandstorm starting, look for this NPC. She puts up a bubble there, stand in the middle of that bubble and just keep your lightning up because there are going to be ads that are going to come right at you in that bubble and will tear you apart if you don't have your damage up. Now, there are usually two phases of that. And in my experience, it seems like he usually does it on, or the NPC will go on the bottom left, bottom right, upper left, upper right. So one of those four pillars, and when it does, it'll alternate. So this time it was the bottom right, next time it'll probably be the upper left. Now that's one of the bigger attacks there. The two spikes come down and shock the area and do quite a bit of damage to you. And here's the little walking phase of those two lightning pillars that I mentioned. A little harder to get away from because they seem to just circle you all at all times. Now, once you get him down around 50% hit points, 60, about maybe 60% hit points or so, he cuts the train in half. And now you're on level ground with him, which you were always on level ground, but now you're in the dirt instead of on a train. No more Vanguard. Or no more Dreadnought, I guess. Now, in this phase, he does have those little tornadoes. They do a decent amount of damage, but they're fairly easy to walk away from. Just don't get caught up in them. If you get towards a corner, it seems like they always spawn two of them when you're in that corner. And he does a few different things with lightnings. He has the two lightning pillars, and they remain stationary for a while, and sometimes he'll have four of those out. He also does something where he does a strike like that, but he also has 4 or 5 little balls of lightning that kind of crawl across the screen. And if they catch you, they do quite a bit of damage to you. And there's the four pillars that I mentioned that have lightning going. Now, in just a moment, usually when he's around 25% hit points, what he'll do is he'll pop up a portal, and that portal will throw out little daggers of lightning at you. Those daggers do quite a bit of damage, but they're easy to avoid. But then when he gets around 10% hit points, he'll throw up a secondary portal, and they'll make like a cross section. So you've got 4 sections that you can be in. Sometimes, if you're lucky, those portals will be fairly close together, and they'll just cover a little short amount. You'll have quite a bit of arena to maneuver around in. But it seems like for me, I always got caught in a little small section. And there's the balls of lightning that come through and go and attack you. They do quite a bit of damage if you get stuck with one. And then he also has these little streaks of lightning that come from the sky like this, and that's very reminiscent of the end of Act 1, that wolf boss that had those little beams coming down of ice and then blood, I suppose it was. These don't do quite as much damage as those did, though. I don't know if it's where I had really low ice resistance at the time, but it seemed like the damage from the first boss killed me way more often than these when they have the little spikes coming down, the little rays coming down from the sky. These are more of an inconvenience than sudden death. And in Act 1, it was get hit twice and you're done. I think I've taken 4 of these and been just fine. But they do a decent amount of damage. It's just with Temporal Rift and the hit point pots, you can stay fairly active. Now, there's the spikes I was talking about. Over here is a portal. It's pretty cool looking, but it tries to cut off one section of the map from you. You can step in there and take a little bit of damage, but you don't want to be directly in front of it for too long. Now that's when the little storm clouds start to become a little more dangerous. And I went ahead and went through that one because it was a very small area that I had to maneuver around in. And if two of those storm clouds were in that area, they were going to get me. And sometimes you just got to take that chance and step out. And he tries to keep those up. That one went away. He resummoned it, and still, it was better position to stay over here. You got way more room to run around in. The opposite side of this is just too small. But that is pretty much it as far as the first boss. Hopefully, this guide was helpful, and if so, please leave a like, leave a comment down below, and remember to subscribe. We'll let the boss finish out here. And maybe one more good hit. There we go. If you have any questions or need additional insight, feel free to ask in the comments. Good luck, Exiles. Have fun. And again, thanks for hanging out. Have a great day.